It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. And we have an interview coming up right now. They are presented by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. The question, I guess, on everybody's lips every now and then is, hot enough for you? Well, for the past several days, we've actually seen very little rainfall and a lot of sunshine, and we felt a lot of heat and humidity. Joining us right now from the National Weather Service office in Pittsburgh is John Darnley, meteorologist with NWS. John, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
So it's been a while since I think we can remember feeling very oppressive heat and humidity in our area. I would imagine that this weather system is going to tick down at some point. I'm thinking probably by the weekend it's going to tick down, but we're still going to have a couple of days where the heat is going to really be affecting a lot of people.
Right. It actually comes right back, and currently the Climate Prediction Center is extending it from the 16th into the 20th. So we're still expecting some pretty extreme heat across the region.
Even though we're not in the heat advisory that neighboring Westmoreland County is in, Indiana County is still seeing a lot of hot temperatures. And I've been out there. It kind of feels like I should be at the beach at times, with it being that hot, like I should be down further south. But so it does feel kind of rare because I believe we're kind of used to some of the cool summers that we've had over the past few years.
Well, they have been a little bit cooler over the past, and the humidity is creeping up going into the end of the week here, where the temperatures were a little bit high. Well, we've been in the 90s, but the dew points have been relatively low, where now the dew points are getting up into the 60s, and that's increasing the feel-like temperature. And so we're seeing the humidity be more of a factor than coupled with the heat.
Mm-hmm. So what is causing all of this humidity, I guess, to come through the area after we've had such cool summers?
Well, the high pressure itself is situated over the Carolinas now, and that high pressure allows for the Gulf moisture to be pulled up through the Tennessee Valley and into southwestern Pennsylvania, and that's what we're seeing. So we're seeing that added humidity and moisture coupled with the compression from the high pressure that actually establishes the heat advisory.
And you mentioned the heat index. I'm a little bit of a weather geek myself. It was always my favorite interest in science class. But maybe for those who don't understand, what is the heat index?
So the heat index is it's basically a combination of the temperature and the relative humidity. And so it gives you a feel-like temperature, if you will. And so normally, like earlier in the week, we were in the 90s, but our dew points and our relative humidity were fairly low, so it felt like 90. Where now, with the increased moisture and humidity, 90 with an increased dew point of, say, 65 is going to give you a feel-like temperature of 104. So now you're feeling that heat, and then your body's trying to cool itself down, and so you begin sweating more. And so now you're really starting to, your body's under stress, and that's what's really happening. And now that's what your brain is actually telling you, hey, I've got to do something about this. So you've got to drink plenty of water. You've got to seek shade. You've got to be careful where you your exposure, how long you're actually doing strenuous work out in the sun. So all these things start to come into play now. And so as individuals, we pay attention to our body and we start to cut back. We spend more time in the garden in the morning, more time in the garden in the evening, less time in the middle of the afternoon. Don't leave your children in the car at all.
Yeah, that's
a big factor. We still find people that do that these days. So that's a serious problem.
Yeah, I was actually taking a look at the heat safety section of the National Weather Service website, and I was taking a look at pediatric vehicular heat stroke deaths, which was what you were talking about. So far this year, it looks like 7 have been reported, but last year, 52. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing in our society that we still have to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And even pets, I mean, you've got to. They need plenty of water during this time, and you can't just leave them out there in exposed sun. If they don't have shade in the yard, then they can't be out there for any time of any long durations.
Right. So we're thinking shelter with them, thinking cool water for them every so often. Make sure that they drink water, and if it does get too hot, bring them inside.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Same thing that it would be in effect for a human, I would imagine, right?
Absolutely, yes. And so you're somebody that likes to run. You can't run in this heat in the afternoon. You've got to find the time to do it in the morning, or find the time to do it in the evening. You can't think that you're going to go on a 5-mile run between 2 and 4. That's just brutal on yourself, and you could put yourself into a heat stroke.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Definitely. And also, and even for people who are not physically fit, I mean, people who are elderly, people who may be obese or overweight, the heat affects them differently.
Oh, definitely. It's twice as impactful for them, because now their bodies, got to absorb all that heat, and they have their sweat glands are clogged. So, I mean, I'm not a medical doctor, but I've experienced things like this. So you've got to be twice as alert. If you're diabetic, or if you have heart disease, you've got to pay attention to what your body's saying. If you're feeling dizzy and you're sweating profusely, you've got to stop and sit down and find the shade and get some water.
Right. All right. John Darnley with the National Weather Service, a meteorologist with them. Thank you very much for joining us on Indiana in the Morning this morning.
Okay. Have a good day.
You too. Stay safe. That was John Darnley with the National Weather Service joining us to talk about the heat and how it's happening and why we're seeing such high happening and why we're seeing